simply endure. Jessica, have you settled on any particular young man, now that Robert has a wife and child? Mrs. Pritchard asked from her other side. The woman was a notorious gossip and loved to get the inside scoop on everyone's life. Her husband owned one of the stores in Cedar Springs, and it gave her the perfect conduit for sharing information. Jess looked to the gray-haired woman with a smile. Goodness, no. I'm enjoying being able to come and go as I please. I'm not settled down in any way, and if I want to travel or leave for an extended visit elsewhere, I have only to pack my bags. But you must be lonely at times, her friend Beth offered. Beth was Mrs. Pritchard's youngest daughter, and Jessica's longtime chum from school. Beth had married at 18 and already had 2 children, who were now being cared for with some of the other children in another part of the house. Earlier, she and 2 other young wives announced they would be having another baby. Jessica knew Beth was truly concerned for her well-being, but with all gazes now fixed upon her, Jessica felt completely out of sorts. Of course I'm not lonely. Goodness, I have people around me all the time, and plenty of suitors. She gave a light laugh, as if the entire world knelt at her feet. I'm perfectly content. But she could see in the eyes of the other women that they didn't believe her. Another of her former schoolmates, Constance Watson, piped up. I don't believe any woman can be completely content until she's wed. I know I wasn't. Several of the women nodded as she continued. Life completely changes once you marry, and as Mother often says, it will change again when children come along, an event I hope soon to know. She smiled sweetly at Jessica. I hope that you, too, will know those pleasures for yourself, both marriage and motherhood. Jessica heard a hint of sarcasm in the woman's tone, but smiled in return nevertheless. Well, bless your heart for saying so. Constance sat back in her chair and nodded soberly. I'll pray for you. Yes, we must all pray that God will send Jessica a husband, Mrs. Smith said, smiling at her daughter. Constance is always so willing to pray for others. Jessica wanted to flee the room, but knew she couldn't without causing a scene. Instead, she folded her hands and thanked the ladies for their concern and prayers. I thought Hannah would be here by now, Aunt Laura commented to the group. Jessica's mother nodded. Should be any time now. I can hardly wait to see the new baby. What was it they named him? One of the older ranch wives asked. William Robert Barnett, Jessica's mother replied, after his grandfather and father. Hannah tells me they intend to call him Wills, but her husband has nicknamed the baby Billy Bob. The women smiled or chuckled and continued to ask questions about the baby and the mother's health. Jessica never thought she'd be glad for the topic to settle on Alice and her child, but at least it took the focus off her own inadequacies. Inadequacies. It seemed like such a harsh word, but Jessica could think of no other. These days, she was her harshest critic. Others were always commenting on her charm, beauty, and accomplishments. She had finished out at one of the best schools for young ladies that Texas could boast, and she'd done well academically in her earlier school years. Some even commented on her being quite intelligent and in possession of a good wit. Surely a woman with such attributes could not be called lacking. In addition to these qualities, Jessica knew her waist was the smallest in the county, and her face had been compared to those of various Greek goddesses. She had always known of her appealing looks. Her mother, also a woman of great beauty, had warned that she could easily use her appearance to manipulate others. She urged Jessica to draw closer to God and forget about her loveliness. God doesn't consider a person's outward appearance, and neither should we, her mother had chided. Jessica always thought that strange. Why?